My bad, Mahmood. But yeah, so the first thing is really just memorizing the script. That's the one thing that we take for granted in this industry because you're able to read off of the script whenever you are talking to somebody on the phone. You only have to control what you say, the words that come out of your mouth, and your tonality, right? There's not all these other things. There are a lot of sales jobs like body language, eye contact, just the little nuanced things. We don't really have to worry about that here. It's really, really simple, and we're kind of spoiled in that way. But when you actually work on getting the script memorized, it's going to allow you to sell at a much higher level because you're not sitting there. You're able to kind of handle objections, build rapport, have a real conversation with them, go in and out of the in and out of the actual pitch, without having to like read word for word of what you're saying. And when you have it memorized, you're able to really, really like expand on it, dig deeper on the why. And it's just something that's really underrated and not a lot of people I feel like talk about in this industry. And honestly, what's more important than memorizing word for word the script is really the format of the script, right? So the introduction, obviously, you're doing everything you can. Let me go ahead and I'm gonna share my screen real quick here. The introduction, you're doing everything you can to get that first yes and get to the beneficiary, essentially, right? But so that's the first part. Second part is the beneficiary building the why, going over how much coverage they're going to need, right? Then it's the discount, then it's the income and the discount questions, then it's the health, then it's the pullback, right? Hey, I don't know if you'll be approved yet. You send them your credentials, you have them write down the benefits, you have them write down the numbers, right? And really that's one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 steps to this close, right? It's really not a complicated script, guys. 7 steps to the close. Obviously, you should have it memorized word for word, especially after you've been doing this for a little while. But even if you can just get the format, get like the steps of it memorized, it's going to help you a lot. And you're really never going to truly master it until you at least have the majority of it memorized. You're able to go off script, you're able to build more rapport, you're able to ask certain questions, you're able to make better jokes. Like you're just able to really, you know, expand and be a better salesperson or better agent at the end of the day whenever you actually have the script fully memorized, right? Um, and again, I don't think it's insanely important to memorize every single word. Like, yes, that'll happen over time, but even you can memorize where you're supposed to be in the script and what goes after what sections after the next. That'll help you a lot. It also allows you to like, be able to quote while you're on the phone, right? So like I don't really like to stop talking. I like even if I'm just gonna make small talk and make jokes, like while I'm reading these paragraphs right here, that's typically when I'm building my quotes, right? Because I've gone over health, I've gone over the numbers, so I typically know what carrier I'm gonna go with. I know how much coverage they need. I know what they can afford. So this is when I'm reading this as I'm building my quotes, right? And I know in the very beginning, people are saying, "All right, so bear with me," and they'll actually put the client on hold. And I did that in the very beginning as well. However, you're gonna have people hang up randomly. You're gonna have people lose interest. They lose that emotion. I think it's good, even if you just like keep the small talk going. Personally, I think it's good to just keep on moving and don't actually place them on a hold. And then same thing too when you're going through the application questions. Like while I am going through these application questions, typically while I'm reading this paragraph, I am, true people searching their name. I'm trying to find if it's an accurate address. That way I can ask them if the address I have on file is correct to build that next level of credibility, right? Um, Same thing with their kids. I might even, if I don't have their kids' birthdays by this point, I might even try to true people search their kids or their beneficiary. I'm going to say, okay, and it looks like your son, he was born in June, right? June 75. Does that sound about right? Okay, perfect. And then just to validate him, what's the name? What day in June was he born? The more information you can give the client, the better, right? It just makes you seem more credible, makes you seem more trustworthy. So use all the tools you have to your advantage. And like when I was first starting learning the script, I'm not kidding. Something we used to do in door to door is you hand write out the script, right? Or you hand write out your door approach or your pitch or whatever. Um, that's something we would tell new agents, people all the time. Write out your pitch, write out your pitch, write out your pitch. With this, I only did it a few times, but I quite literally wrote out this fucking script, word by word, pen to paper. Like I wrote out this script. Writing stuff helps me commit it to memory. So do things like that. If you're brand new, maybe just literally record yourself going through the script and just listen to the recording, whatever it is, right? Have a method to like commit it to memory. I promise that'll help a lot. Um, Next thing I want to touch on is just re like I did this, and I think the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because a lot of people don't do this. And I do not think I would have hit Hall of Fame in my first year, first 10 months if I hadn't had recruits right off the bat, right? So one lesson that I feel like a lot of agents miss, and I know in this industry people get sick of hearing about recruiting, and I'm not here to say like you got to recruit your entire friends and family members day one, right? That's not what I'm saying. Honestly, I don't think you should. I mean, if you want to, awesome, but you're probably not going to have the bandwidth. But I think everyone should work on at least recruiting one person from the very start, just because it makes you go so much harder and sell so much better as an agent yourself. Think about it like if somebody, first off, you're not going to make a ton of money off of recruiting somebody, especially when you first start, because your comp isn't where it needs to be, and it's just one person. And realistically, you shouldn't be ever really be recruiting to make money off of an individual. You should be recruiting them because you think it's a really good opportunity and you want to help that person change their life and make more money than they're currently making or have more time, location, freedom, whatever it is. You want to help that person because you believe in that person, right? And by a byproduct of that, over time, you will make money, but you're never going to make really good money as a builder, as a recruiter, which I'm not, the best in the world, but I just believe that you can't come into it with like a mindset of thinking every person's a dollar sign. But when I first started in this, I had brought a couple of the guys over that I was with in solar, right? And for me, I just because I had that group, essentially like I was leading, even though I didn't really know what I was doing yet either. It made me go a lot harder, right? I was getting on early, I was getting off late, I was dialing super, super intentionally. I was doing everything I could because I definitely think I would have slacked off a little bit more if I hadn't have had those guys there with me, to kind of like lead from the front, right? So even if it's just like one person, I do think that it, makes you go a lot harder as a salesperson and as an agent yourself. Um, because at the end of the day, I sold like 436 last year, I think was my IP on the year. Like, I definitely think I would have sold 10% less if I was just selling for myself, right? And that would have put me under Hall of Fame. So, and again, with recruiting too, you just really can't give a shit what people think, the sooner you let go of that, the better. I promise you, nobody that ever is going to judge you is actually doing better than you in life. The only people who I've seen, I mean, I've never ever had anybody like make fun of what I post or what I do or anything like that to my face, of course. But I'm sure people have behind my back. Like I've seen on some of my cringier Instagram videos, they'll get like a bunch of shares, right? I'm just like, it is what it is. But you just really cannot give a shit what people think. And it's just, they're not going to pay your bills. So if they're not the only people that would ever, the only people you should really care about is like your immediate loved ones and your very close friends and family. Like for me, it's my family, my fiance, and like my, best friends in the world, right? Which I probably have 10 to 20 people in this entire world whose opinion I would say I truly care about. You really can't care about anybody else because I promise you, nobody's really thinking about you. Humans are like hardwired to think that like everybody's thinking about them at all times of the day. You know how like if you ever go out one night or something and you do something stupid or say something stupid and you have anxiety about it for like a year, like nobody remembers that besides you, I promise. So sooner you let go of that, the better. Um, Other thing I wanted to hit on was just digging deeper on the why. So whenever I first started doing life insurance, like again, I barely knew what life insurance was, right? Like, I mean, I did know how insurance worked, but um, going through right here, honestly, looking back, I'm actually impressed with myself how much insurance I sold without expanding on the why. So Mahmood did an amazing job building the script, and it's $1 million script for a reason, right? Um, like I sold plenty, like honestly, a surprising amount of insurance, quite literally reading this script word for word, pretty much. And that was it. Just having good tone, trying to build rapport, not taking no, letting them hang up on me, pushing them, overcoming objections because I already kind of knew how to do that, knew how to keep people talking, right? You can sell a good amount of insurance doing that. But if you want to become good, and this is still something I'm trying to get better and better at every single day because I can get lazy about it myself, but is going a couple questions deeper on the why, right? So what I mean by that is instead of just asking, are they in a financial position to cover it, or is that why you were looking into this? If they say no, they're not in a position to cover it, a lot of people just be like, oh, amazing. And they just kind of keep moving on, right? They're like, okay, I might have a lay down here. But if they do, people want to ask the questions to dig out the why only if they say, yeah, they'd be in a position to cover it. That's not a big deal. Then people will try to like build that why a little bit more, but I think you should do it whether they say they can't or whether they say they can, right? So really simple things you can ask about. If it's the spouse, just kind of bring up how that person might not have a ton of income left over whenever they do pass away. How much money is in savings? Is she going to be able to cover the cost of the house, the mortgage, whenever you pass away? Oh gosh, well, I'm sure you're kind of like most veterans I speak with, where you'd rather her be writing a check, or sorry, receiving a check instead of writing a check whenever that time comes, right? Yeah, like it's going to be a hard enough time as it is. The last thing we want is your wife Mary to have to deal with any financial stress on top of that, sir. And another easy way to dig out a why is, have you guys ever had to pay for anybody's funeral before? Do you know anybody that passed away without coverage? And did it leave the family in a tough situation? They can utilize other stories. I mean, guys, people we're talking to, they typically have somebody where this has happened to, right? And don't trick yourself into thinking that, oh, this person's just taking my call because I'm old. Like, sure, that could happen. But at the end of the day, these people aren't going to sit on the phone with a stranger for 10, 20, 30 minutes talking about health questions, beneficiaries, life insurance, coverage. If they're not interested in life insurance, they're interested in life insurance, right? And there's a reason why. And they might be a little guarded about it. And it's up to you to kind of ask the questions to, pry that out, right? Usually it's an experience they've had in their life, whether it was somebody they know that passed away, or a family member that died recently, or something like a friend that died. Like, again, these are old people. And if you ask the right questions, you'll have people tell you like, man, I've had all my friends pass away. Like, it's sad. It's real. Like the average lifespan of an American male is like 76 years old. I think it's 80 for a girl or woman. So, but that mean if there's people average death of 76, that means people are dying at 65 all day, right? So you just got to put that in perspective and know that these people are on the call for a reason. And you got to ask the questions to dig out the why. With the spouse, I'm typically going to go over, the income, like what's her loss of income look like without your social security, without your income? Is she going to be able to afford, the mortgage, the rent payment, the lifestyle you guys kind of have now, sir, or would that be an issue? With the kids, it's really easy. I like to ask about if their kids are the beneficiary, what their kids do for work. If the kids have kids, if they have grandkids, oh, how do you live close by to them? How often do you get to see them? And typically their kids aren't going to be like these neurosurgeons, right? So I'm going to say like, oh, gotcha, wow. And she works for the post office. Oh, and she has two kids. Oh, wow. I'm sure your daughter Jennifer is pretty strapped at it as it is. Or I'm sure she's got her hands full as it is. I won't say strapped. I'll say I'm sure she's got her hands full as it is. And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, no, blah blah blah. Okay, so that's probably one of the main reasons why you wanted to get this coverage in place now, was just to make sure that God forbid something happens to you, Jennifer, the kids, their family wasn't burdened by any expenses. Is that correct, sir? All right, perfect. So just going like a couple questions deeper on the why instead of literally just reading the script. Again, you can sell plenty of insurance just quite literally reading the script, but you're going to get better as you expand on it and ask more questions and build more pain over the why. If you're getting a lot of social objections, you're getting a lot of banking objections, a lot of I want to think about it. Typically, that's just because they don't really feel that much of a need to buy the life insurance. The pain of spending $100 a month isn't greater than the pain of, you haven't painted the picture well enough of the pain of their daughter's going to feel or their wife is going to feel whenever they pass away and they don't have any coverage. That's why you're getting objections. That's why you typically get I want to think about it, right? Um, one more thing to go over, a couple more things here, but one more lesson that I kind of wish I knew when I first started was realizing less is more when it comes to overcoming objections, right? So you want to agree with them. You don't want to get defensive at all. Especially with, the social and the banking objections. I guess those are the main two. So those are the two I'll kind of go over. With, say somebody gives you a social objection, right? Like, oh, I don't feel giving out the social over the phone. Um, Shout out Mike DeLuca on my team. He was his second close yesterday. He did, it was textbook, right? It was perfect. He's basically, this is a perfect example. The guy was like, "Oh yeah, I don't really feel giving that out, comfortable giving that out over the phone." You got to keep your tone. It's super calm, almost low, kind of like, "Yeah, I get it." That's kind of how I like to handle it. Like, just want to be like, "Yeah, I understand. That is just required for the medical underwriting." And then just shut up. Don't say anything. The less is more. If you sit there and you're just like, "Oh, well, it's no big deal. I promise you the line is secure. That's why I sent you a copy of my credentials.
Hi,
Your information doesn't go
good. How
anywhere."
you doing?
Blah 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 blah. And you get
Yeah,
this like rambling.
four one
Uh,
two
hey, make sure
three
you're
nine
muted.
zero.
I got you. Um, but if you get this like long explanation, right, as to why you are asking for the social, it's just gonna weird them out, right? Like think about it if I don't know, what's a good example? Like if you're like going to the doctor and you ask the doctor like what's wrong, you have like some sort of stomach problem or something, and you ask the doctor what's wrong with you, and he just starts spazzing out, like you're gonna be freaked out. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? I'm gonna die. But if he's just like, oh, no big deal, you just have an ulcer, we're gonna get it taken care of. Like you're like, oh, okay, cool. Same thing with like, if a little baby's like running and they fall, right? The worst thing to do is like, oh my gosh, you're okay, it's gonna be okay, don't worry. Like they're gonna start crying, right? If you're just like, oh, brush it off, you're fine. They're just gonna forget about it. So the bigger deal you make the objection, the bigger of the deal it's going to become. And obviously, like, and you don't want to waste all your ammunition, right? Something because if there's immediately like, oh yeah, I don't really want to give out my social over the phone. Or a lot of times you'll just get, do I need to give you that? Like, yep, it is required for the medical underwriting, and that's it. But if that doesn't work, right? If your first attempt, your first really quick attempt doesn't work, which should be less than like 10 words, then you can be like, oh, okay, well, I do get it, Mr. Bob. A lot of veterans do feel this way. However, it is required, like I mentioned, all your information is secure. And you did see the license I sent to your phone, correct? If they haven't, a lot of times they haven't. Like, okay, no worries, happens all the time. Go ahead and put me on speaker and look at that so we can proceed here, sir. And then they look at it like, all right, you saw my face, you saw my state license. All right, perfect. What's your social? So it's just like you just want to be very controlled with it. You don't want to over explain. Because that way, for one, you're going to save ammunition. So you have 3 or 4 attempts, right? And then, because like for the banking, for example, there's like probably a million ways you could overcome it. But one of the ways is letting them know it's for the anti-money laundering verification. They have to make sure that the name on the account matches your name, right? We don't want to make sure nobody's trying to get a policy on your head without your knowledge. You can also use the electronic check, like the giving a check to a gardener. You can use that. You can even act like you already have the account number, and you could be like, "Sir, I'm required to ask you to validate the account number. I already have the routing number. How would I have the routing number if I was some sort of doing some sort of shenanigans here, sir?" Um, and then obviously just letting them know like, hey, this is like the most secure form of payment. You can't just go on a shopping spree with a routing and account number, right? That's you use that whenever you buy a used car, you pay your gardener, you hand somebody a check. It has the routing and account number on there. It can't be used by, just somebody to go to Walmart or buy stuff online. It can only be used by legitimate financial institutions, and that's why they prefer that payment method. All right, perfect. What's your account number? So, but it's the same thing with the banking. You don't want to over explain. You just want to go low, slow, and just don't let it seem like it rattles you at all. And you honestly should, I'm not saying you should expect it. You should be confident that you're doing a good enough job to not get it. And you should be confident that you're going to close the deal on every single person you talk to, or else it's dead. I mean, same thing when you're dialing leads, right? Like if you think your leads are cooked or you think your leads are bad, I promise you they're going to be bad. Oh my gosh, this lead source. Oh, this lead source. Like, dude, all leads are okay. Like I've hit Hall of Fame, have a 85+% persistency on veteran final expense leads. They get the job done. I promise you. I get them from Mahmood. I get them from Ronnie. I get them from the same people you guys get them from. Don't have a magic lead source. It's the same thing with the leads, right? Like if you think the leads are bad, they're going to be bad. If you think you're going to get an objection, you're probably going to get an objection. But I say that to say, in a way, you also should be ready for it, right? Like it just shouldn't let it rattle you, and the less is better, right? Um, One other thing too to hit on is the introduction really, really is key, right? So with sales in general, I'm a pretty big believer that, oops, um, at the end of the day, it's not about who is the best closer, right? Obviously, there are people who close at 75%, 80%, 90%. I probably close at like, and honestly, it's because I'll just hang up on people, bro. If their just health is cooked or they're just like not worth my time. Like I don't, if I can just smell a chargeback, like I'll just click on that person. But like if you're closing like 70% versus somebody that's closing like 30 or 40%, if that person who's doing 30 or 40% of like getting to numbers and closing versus the person doing 70%, if the person closing 30 or 40% is working more hours and they're dialing more leads and they're really good, just good at the introduction and they're getting more presentations, right? They're getting to the close, they're asking for a decision more often, like double the amount of times, they're going to make more money, even if they aren't as good of a closer, quote unquote, right? So getting good at the introduction is really like the most key thing. It's what gets you in the door. And even if you're just, even as you read the script, person who gets three times more introductions, or sorry, three times more presentations than somebody who, say somebody gets eight presentations a day, say somebody gets four presentations a day, person who gets eight is going to win every single time. I don't care how bad they are. So, because the script is honestly that good. And some people just need the insurance, right? They've already decided before they get on the call, hey, I feel like I'm getting a good deal here. I'm going to get a veterans discount, whatever it is they think in their head because of the marketing angle, they're going to buy no matter what. So get really good at the introduction. And I mean, we could talk for an hour just on the introduction, can go over it a little bit here though. My kind of process with the introduction is I want to speak really loud whenever I do take the call typically. So I'm like, hey, Mike. Hey, Mike, this is Joseph. I was just giving you a quick call here from the Veterans Benefits FFL. How you doing today, sir? All right, perfect. So this call, just in regards to that request you had submitted for the new final expense and life options for veterans. I'm the medical underwriter that has been assigned to your file, Mr. Mike. I have your date of birth listed here as June 1st, 1960. Is that correct, sir? All right, perfect. And then it also says on my side here for the military status that you had received an honorable discharge. So, first and foremost, sir, just want to say thank you for your service. Hmm. Yes, sir. And then if they're like saying, "Oh, I'm doing good," how are you? Like, obviously, I'm going to go off script. I'm going to try to build a little bit of rapport, right? Mr. Mike, living the dream here. Yeah, just a stupid joke like that, right? Just something like that, or, I can't complain, man. You're the first person to ask me in the last hour, so I appreciate that, sir. Just something like that to make yourself seem like a human being. Um, and then, or like, I'll make a joke about like right now, the weather is crazy, right? All across the country, it's like freezing. So I'll make a joke about that. Be like, I'm damn cold, but or I'm dang cold, but it's going okay. Something like that, right? So make yourself want to be like a little bit of a human. I also like to have that like curious, friendly, like familiar tone, right? Almost like I'm calling a friend who I haven't spoken to in 20 years and they don't have my number, right? So like, hey, Mike. Hey Mike, this is Joseph. I was giving you a call here. Like that's kind of like the tonality I like to have. But I think the good DMV voice, like monotone almost, just like lower voice, like kind of, you know, FM late night radio voice in the Chris Voss book, like Pierce says, is the way to go. So and then once they have that, just like pretty simply, I just get right into it, right? Now, was your main concern, like most veterans, just wanting to make sure that your funeral expenses doesn't fall a burden on any of your loved ones, sir? And then here, what's 80%, 90% of the time, what's going to happen is they're going to say, no, I got that covered. I got that taken care of, right? One in 10 people are like, yes, those are your laydowns. It's just your job to build the why and not fuck those up. But whenever you're going over the 190% of the time, like, no, I have that taken care of. No, I have some coverage in place, blah, 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 blah. You have to expect that. And you have to get really good at attacking every different angle of why they could potentially need some sort of coverage, right? So, for example, if they're like, oh no, I already got that taken care of. Again, that's 95% of the time, right? Yeah, no, I totally understand, sir. I'm very glad that, or, oh, good, you got that taken care of? Okay, awesome, sir. Well, I'm glad you already had that taken care of because honestly, we talk to people all day who just wait until it's too late. When you got that taken care of, did you prepay through a funeral home or do you already have some life insurance coverage in place from the private sector? And then I'll wait. Let me see what they say, right? And one thing to notice there is you don't just want to be like, okay, perfect. How much coverage do you have, right? You got to figure out if they even have coverage or if they just prepaid it, because that's a different conversation. And then also, you want to agree with them for a couple of different sentences. If you're just like, perfect, how'd you get that taken care of? They can feel the sales, right? They are like, oh my gosh, this person wants to know So they can just try to recommend something else and they can sell me. And yes, of course, you're trying to recommend something else and sell them, but you don't want it to feel that way. So I'll have to be like, oh, awesome, man. Like, wow, that makes my job a whole lot easier. I can tell you're really proactive. Like, you want to gas them up a little bit. Like, okay, cool. And then, by the way, did you just prepay through a funeral home or do you have some life insurance coverage in place? If they prepaid for a funeral home, then obviously you're hitting on, okay, perfect, all the other reasons why they could need coverage, right? Replacing their income for their spouse when they pass away, leaving money behind to their family, paying off debts, mortgages, covering bills for whenever they pass away, all that other stuff. I love you money. I'll try to just kind of hit every little thing. Oh, is this why you filled this out? Oh, is this why you filled this out? Oh, okay. So you're like most veterans I talk to, or you were just looking to accomplish this. And if I think do everything I think of, and there's like no, 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 no. Then hang up on them and go to the next lead. But or let them hang up on you. Just like, well, sir, I'm a little bit confused here. You filled out a request to get help with the veterans' final expense and life insurance programs. What did you fill this out for? You just like, I can't imagine you just like clicking on stuff on Facebook for fun. I'll say that sometimes. And then if they have life insurance coverage, typically if they've got it within the last 12 months, I might try to beat the rate. If it's been more than 12 months, or sorry, not 12 months, within the next year or two, I will probably, eh, 2 or 3 years, I'm going to check the rate. But I'm not a huge replacer, to be honest with you. I've probably done, I don't know, less than 15 ever. I add a ton of coverage though. So if they have less than $20,000 of coverage, those are sometimes like my favorite people to talk to because they bought life insurance already. They already believe in the product. They believe in life insurance. You don't have to convince them on that, right? They already obviously believe in it, right? They're a buyer. And they've probably bought it from somebody over the phone. So you're less likely to get a social banking objection, whatever it is. So that's kind of the main reason why I love those. Um, and then also, usually just try to pitch those people on adding additional coverage because of inflation and leaving extra money behind for their family, right? So if they have like $20,000 of coverage, for example, okay, gotcha. You have that 20,000, you've had that in place for 10 years. All right, perfect, sir. Well, again, very glad you have something in place now because most people just, wait until they get stage 3 cancer before they try to get anything. So, good on you for getting that taken care of, Mr. Bob, or getting a part of that taken care of. And then are you planning on being buried or cremated one day? Buried? Okay, gotcha. And do you know what burials typically cost nowadays? Right. So, well, it depends on where you live, of course, Mr. Bob, but realistically, they can be anywhere from 15 to $25,000. Sometimes with a nicer casket, it's gonna be upwards of $30,000, depending on the opening or the closing, the transportation, flowers, all the extra that goes into it, the level of service at the funeral home. So they can be fairly expensive, and that's nowadays. And obviously, we all know that everything goes up over time. So with this request here, sir, you were probably just looking to utilize your discount to add some additional coverage just to make sure that whenever that time does come, your family doesn't have to pay anything out of pocket. The entire cost is covered, and you are maybe leaving some extra money behind as well. Is that correct, sir? And I'm like very assumptively asking, like, oh, okay, so that's why you filled this out then because of this, right? I'm not just gonna ask like, okay, were you looking to, so then you wanted to add additional coverage to cover the full cost of the barrel. I'm like, oh, I got you, sir. I got you. Okay, so you were just looking to do this to accomplish this, like most veterans I talk to, right? Okay, perfect. And then you move on. As soon as you get that first yes, like, okay, gotcha. You're looking to get the full cost covered because of inflation and maybe leave some extra money behind. All right, perfect, sir. That's simple enough. So then I'm immediately going into the beneficiary and start building the why, right? So the introduction really is key. It's just like kind of finding that balance of being the right amount of friendly and the right amount of like DMV voice stern with them. Um, and then kind of like I guess I was pretty good about this, but I feel like a lot of people aren't in the very beginning. Another bonus thing for you guys on, lessons from new agents is just being organized, right? Um, So like what I do is a really simple system where I kind of go through and I keep track of every single week the policies I sold. I keep it in my notes app that way if I'm ever not home because like a lot of people use like that Excel sheet and I think that's great as well, but I just know myself and I'm the type of person where if if it's difficult for me to do it and it's annoying, I'm not going to actually do it. So I like really simple, easy systems to stay organized. And I like to just use my notes just every single week, boom, the date of every single Monday, how many policies I sold that week, and the monthly premiums, the carrier, and then the effective date, right? So that's my system for staying organized. I'll also keep a list of my recruits, a list of all the policies I sell, the approved script, list of deals that were sold, denied, or canceled. I haven't really updated this in a minute, to be honest. Been lazy about that. And then a list of deals that I've sold where, man, sadly, I sold these people and the payment method was wrong, the account number was wrong, it didn't validate, or some bullshit like that. So just ones I might spin back on one day and give them a ring or what have you. So I think staying organized is pretty important. Whatever your system is, just find something that you're actually going to do and stick with it. And then obviously, like actually saving your clients' numbers in the phone, right? Saving their name, the number, maybe then I haven't done this, but I'm going to start doing it from now on. Keeping the in the notes on that, so you don't even have to go to your notes. I mean, it's really easy for me because I just type in the client's name on my notes. Like you just search it on the Notes app, wherever the search bar is, yeah, on my phone or whatever, and it'll pull up the client's name, when I sold them, the effective date, the monthly, the yearly, annual premium. But you can also just keep like that all that information in the little note of that client's contact on your phone. So just dispositioning your leads, staying organized with your sheets, staying organized with your phone, your contacts, having a way to track your policies. And once you've been doing the job for six plus months, hire a VA. That helps a lot as well. As long as you're selling at a high level, it's worth your time. I just got one a couple weeks ago, and I really wish I did it earlier, especially the book of business one. That one helps a lot. Even if they just save you like legitimately two policies a month, it pays for itself. So recommend that as well. Obviously, it's like $200 a week though. So if you're brand new, don't worry about that. But I think for people that have a bigger book of business, like once you sold probably 250 plus policies, it's probably worth doing. Because there's gonna be policies from 6 months ago or 7 months ago, and you don't remember that person at all. Like, I don't even remember half the people I spoke to last week. So you gotta have a method to stay organized there, and that definitely will help once you get a little further down the road. But if you're brand new, I know it's not necessary. I sold over 450 policies before I got one. You just gotta stay on your email and keep up with your chargebacks. If you have an error message, you have a lapse, you have a wrong account number, call the client. Don't just write it off. Put it up, have a method of tracking it. I like to use my Apple Calendar as well, which I don't really know if I can even show that on the MacBook, but um, I use my Apple Calendar like religiously for reminders to call people back, for banking objections, for recruiting calls, whatever it is. Have like a calendar that you use every single day for stuff. Where you have like odd and like put like reoccurring events on there as well, like every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I have on my calendar reoccurring like these trainings. Thursday or Monday evening, same thing. I have my Monday team call with my group as a recurring event every single Monday on my Monday calendar. Reminds me the day before, right? Just stuff like that. Utilizing your calendar to stay organized with calling people back, follow-ups if you're doing those, which usually don't work out. Everything in this job, right? Again, big lesson that I took, like I kind of already knew this, but one of the main keys of the convention lessons was, treat this job like a business because it is. And if you take ownership of like, even if it's just you, and even if it's just you or it's you and one recruit, right? Like you're the CEO of your own miniature fucking life insurance agency. And if you treat it like that and you invest time, you stay organized, like it's going to be more likely to actually pay you like a business and you're going to be able to think long term. But if you just treat it like a job where you're trying to get rich in 60, 90, 120 days, like you're probably going to burn out because you're not going to see the immediate success and then you're going to get frustrated and then, you know, you're just not treating it like a business. There's really no business on earth where you're going to open it up except for maybe like, I don't know, like e-commerce. If you hit like a amazing ad right off the rip, which highly unlikely to happen, right? But if you hit like some banger ad or you hit like some amazing product, you get some good affiliates selling your shit for you or something like that. If you don't know anything about that world, but there's not many businesses where you can start and just like start banging money right off the bat. Like whether it's a brick and mortar business, an online business, being a life insurance agent, obviously you can make really good money right off the bat. However, if you're expecting that and you're not willing to go through that season of learning, then you're never going to get to like the season of earning. So you have to, be able to like have that be patient and just keep putting in the work. And then just, yeah, consistency is key. I mean, that's just everybody knows that. It's no surprise. Monday through Saturday, 55 to 60 hours a week of dialing, or else you're never gonna. And like especially in your first 90 days, like you have to set a super strict schedule and you have to commit to doing 60 hours a week of dialing. And if you're not willing to do that, 55 hours, 50 hours, something like if you're actually intentionally dialing for 55, 60 hours a week, like in my opinion, you can do pretty decent. However, if you really want to be elite, like it's 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week, like you're not going to hit 750K, you're not going to hit a million, you're not going to hit half a million doing 50 hours a week. That's not going to happen, I promise you. So, I've seen plenty of people try to cheat code this, try to, cheat the work, try to use different systems, leads, preset appointments, call-ins, blah, blah, blah. And those things do work for some people, right? But the people who use those, they're still supplementing with outbound dialing as well, right? And every single person I have seen, especially that I've worked with, come into this business and try to cheat the work, try to cheat the dials. They are no longer selling life insurance and they left with some fucking debt. So, just, don't be that person. I promise you. But I went a little long. However, I guess we'll kind of go ahead and open it up for questions. Does anybody have anything? Not all at once.
What was one of your biggest takeaways from coming back from the convention?
Mm. Man, I took a lot of notes and I really still want to have it. I'm still actually in Texas with my team doing a lock-in today, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So I haven't really had time to like truly read back through my notes yet. But I would say my biggest takeaway is just like the the people who really accomplish a lot in this business and build teams of 500K a month, $1 million a month, Mahmood's, tens of millions a month, right? They're not doing anything special. They're just really consistent. They work hard and they've been in the business for a while, right? I've kind of realized that this is one of those businesses where if you've been in it for over 3 years, it's kind of hard to not be at least pretty successful, right? As long as you're not an idiot and you work hard. So it really is like a game of longevity. Most not mo like 90%, the industry average is like 90%. I know in the blueprint it's like completely the opposite because we have better systems, training, and support. But most people fail out of this business pretty quick. And if you can make it past a year, you can make it past 2 years, 3 years, like you telling me after 3 years of doing this, you're not going to have a team, like you're not going to be producing at a high level. You're not going to have it all figured out. You're not going to be able to do the pitch in your sleep. Like it really is just a game of longevity. And if you can last, like I've saw people go up on stage that I promise you were nothing special, but they've been in the business 3 years. They have for most people would kill for a 300K a month team, right? And some people can get there in 3, 4, 5 months if they're elite. Some people it's going to take them like 2, 3 years. But if you just last long enough, like you'll have it. As long as you're putting in the work, you're putting yourself out there on social media. So I'd say that was like one of the biggest takeaways is just like it's a game of longevity in a way because again, you're treating it like a business, not a job, right? So that was one of the biggest takeaways I'd say is just like and I already kind of knew this, right? But like I promise you guys, the people, I mean, some of the people are special. Like I consider like a Ronnie Salem, he's special, right? Like that guy's special. But like most people that were going up aren't special. They just put in 12, 10, 12 hours a day. They're working 70 hours a week and they make it their lifestyle. And that's something I realized a couple of months ago too, was like, if I just kind of like, if you just eat, breathe, and sleep this shit, it's impossible to fail. If you just make it your lifestyle, it doesn't feel as much like work. It's just like you look forward to it, right? Because you just got to fully commit. And honestly, Stan Smith said something I thought was really good. He gave a really good story about how I'm sure most people know who Stan Smith is. He's like 23, has a huge agency. But regardless, he told a story about how when he first started, he was scared to go all in because he's always smart. He always was good at things naturally, but he never really succeeded at anything because he was in his mind, he was scared to go all in, right? Because when if you go all in, then you're scared to fail. Because if you fail at something, you can always tell yourself, "Oh, I failed because I didn't really try my hardest," right? But what happens if you just try your absolute hardest? You just have to be okay with you might fail, and it is what it is. But who cares? You're never truly going to be successful at anything if you don't go all in. If you have a plan B, if you aren't really dedicating yourself. So I'd say that's another a key takeaway that I really liked was just go all in. Who gives a fuck if you fail? At the end of the day, like who gives a shit what people think? So go all in, and if you fail, you fail, and if not, then you're gonna make it. So who cares?
That's beautiful. I appreciate it. One more question. Hitting Hall of Fame in 9 months. First off, congratulations. But what are some of your goals coming into the new year?
Yeah, so I like to think like in blocks, right? Like I like to have like levels for my goals. So I'd say like by the end of the year, I'd like for my team to be doing $1 million a month. However, my first step, I want to get my team to doing 300K a month, and that's like what I have my eyes on, right? Because I can see that I can like put the numbers like it's already there. Just a couple of things need to improve, a couple of things need to change. I need to get a little bit better with training my guys, a little bit better as a leader, and that's like right there, right? I can feel it. So that's like one, and then once I hit that, it's like boom, all right, now 500, now 750, now a million, and I can like see it, right? But I like to be like super realistic with my goals. But I do think by the end of the year, $1 million a month, and I like to hit Hall of Fame again as well. So yeah, those are kind of my two main goals. I want to be like end up being like like Mahmoud, right? Like a 3 or 4 time Hall of Famer. So I think it's important to lead from the front, never stop selling, and I mean, not never, because once you get big enough, obviously you're gonna be pulled a trillion different ways. But realistically, until you're doing a million a month, like you should be selling at least in some aspect, whether that's using dialers or appointment setters or whatever. You should still be taking calls though, at like the very minimum just to train people and just to prove you still got it, right? Nobody at the end of the day wants to follow a leader who can't sell. So I think staying sharp on that is always going to be a thing. So that'd be my answer though is $1 million team and hitting Hall of Fame again. And I want to improve my schedule. I've already worked like, 10 hours a day, but I want to bump those numbers up, honestly. I'm gonna start going to bed a little bit earlier, waking up earlier, and just, yeah, improving my schedule just a little bit. By like an extra hour a day, I want to add in there. So,
When you first started, how did you keep yourself from like burning out? Like you said, people burn out. How did you
uh,
keep yourself motivated and like not burn out?
yeah, so I guess my answer probably won't help that much because where I came from, dude, I was already so burnt out. I came from doing solar sales, and like how my team operated in solar is we would travel 12 days a month. So it was like 10 working days, 2 traveling days every single day. And I did that for 4 years, like 48 months in a row, never took a month off. And constantly like and then you throw in there a couple manager retreats, a couple annual events you do, like blah blah blah. And I was pretty much gone from my home half of the year, literally. I was literally taking 40 flights a year. It was ridiculous. So I was already super burnt out on that. So being able to like come into this and work from home, I was like, dude, I can do this forever. This is awesome. So for me, I didn't really experience that, just to be blunt, to be completely honest with you. But I would say one thing is just like, have other things you're doing in your life, right? Like when I wake up, I like to go to the gym first thing in the morning. That's how I start my day pretty much every single day. I'm not doing it here because I'm on a lock in with my guys. And honestly, I probably work out every single day. So it's probably good to give my body a rest for like a week or so for like first time in like 6 months. But I work out every single morning. I think if you wake up and you just like roll out of bed, shower, throw down some food, drive to the office or hop on your computer and you're waking up late and like the only thing you're doing all day is working, then of course it's gonna suck. But I like to wake up, go to the gym, come back home, have 30 minutes to eat. Maybe I'll listen to like a podcast or like a whatever, talk with my fiance and just kind of have like a morning to myself in a way and then start working. Like I think that helps with burnout as well, as long as not all you're doing all day is working, right? And obviously, like you have to have, I mean, you don't have to. I'm sure, Mahmood didn't, right? The guys who really accomplished a ton, they kind of don't have a life sometimes for a couple of years while they're building their business. But, you know, Sundays, Sunday afternoons, after you get some work done in the morning, maybe, or Saturday evenings, do something with your friends. Like, be a human being. And like, I still like to enjoy my life. at the end of the day, like, I'm 27 years old. Like, I want to have a little bit of fun while I'm, you know, young, right? So, but again, that doesn't mean I'm like going out and getting hammered on the weekends and just ruining the next 2 days of my life. Big difference between that and like spending intentional time with your friends and family. But yeah, I would say like for me, man, coming into it, like I was grateful for the opportunity to make money from home. So like I haven't really felt burnt out because I was so burnt out of doing what I was doing before. But yeah, I would say just try to break up your day, do something else in the morning, wake up earlier, just make it to where you're not working all day, every single day.
Got it. Thanks for that answer. Sounds good.
Mhm.
I got a question. Um, from you coming from solar and like selling alarm systems, what's something that you had to learn coming into this business?
I would say the biggest thing was probably like trying to learn and something I'm still working on, learning and getting better about motivating and leading salespeople from a virtual environment. So with door to door, I mean, it's pretty simple. You drop them off in a neighborhood and hey, I'll pick you up in 9 hours. And if you don't work, then, you're kind of just an idiot, right? You're going to sit on a curb and waste your time. But with life insurance, most of my team, or I mean, all my team's virtual, right? So which hopefully will be changing by the end of the year. I'd say it's another goal of mine for whoever asked earlier. I want to have an office by the end of the year because I'm moving back to Atlanta, Georgia. But yeah, so learning how to motivate, encourage, train people, help people through a screen, through a virtual environment, I'd say is like probably the biggest thing I've had to learn how to adapt with, which definitely is a lot different. Because I'm somebody who like I'm gonna work super, super hard no matter what. That's just how I am. I like to work. I like making money. It's fun. I enjoy it. I like the grind. But not everybody does. So like you gotta, motivate, encourage people, blah, 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 especially through a virtual environment. And then I would also say too, from like a sales angle of that question, just really, really try to focus more on your tonality. Like obviously with door to door, you're definitely using your tonality as well. Um, but you also have like your body language to rely on, which I always felt like was a positive for me. And you don't have that in person. You're not able to like really you're not able to win people over with your presence and your aura, if you will, like you are in person, Like in person, like sometimes you can just vibe with people and have a beer with them, and they're just like, it's a done deal, or like start cracking jokes with them, kind of like really mold yourself into who that person would like and win that client over in person. And that's a little bit harder to do over the phone. So just being a little bit more intentional with my conversations I'm having with people and the actual words that are coming out of my mouth instead of just like the vibe that you can create in person because you don't have that over the phones.
Awesome. And another quick question, adding on to that, from doing all your other types of sales, what's something that you've learned from like the other sales that you brought into this business that, obviously put you in the position that you are in now, which is Hall of Fame?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. I would say when and I know this is not an answer a lot of people like to hear, but when I was coming up in sales, everyone's just like, you hear this a lot. Trust the process, trust the process, trust the process, believe in yourself. Like you have to have a why, all that kind of stuff. And when I was like the first, I'd say like 3 years in sales, I wasn't, I hated that as like an answer. And people are like, how you sell? So I'd be like, ask somebody that was doing really good. Like, how is it that you close like 80% or 90% of the people you sit down with? They're like, dude, I just believe that I'm going to close them. And I hated that answer, but it is kind of true. It's not, it's a shitty answer, but it's like, it is so true. Like by the end of solar, I was still doing pretty good and the market had gotten pretty bad. And people would ask me like, dude, what the fuck are you saying to people on the doors? Like they've been hit 1,000 times. And I'm just like, dude, I just know I'm going to go out and make money. I can't even explain it. I'm just like, I just believe it. It's just like, I'm just like, I think I'm the shit. Like I just have that confidence. And I just know like if I just work hard, I'm gonna make money. And that was just always, if I work hard, I'm gonna make money. If I work hard, I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna get told no a lot, but I'm also gonna get told yes eventually. You know, I'm gonna get lucky. I'm gonna get lucky. And I would just tell myself that like every single time I'd knock on a door or same here thing here, call a lead, like, all right, Mary wants my insurance. Or with door to door, I used to be like, oh, perfect. People that have red no soliciting signs, I sell this person every single time. Somebody has a white truck in the driveway, like white trucks. I sell these people. And usually you don't, but I just gotta have that kind of delusional confidence and just truly believe that what you're doing works, which it does. I mean, you guys look at the company leaderboard, look at the blueprint, playbook, all star, look at the people who are doing exactly what you're doing and having insane results, right? So you know the system, you know the process works, but you just truly have to believe in it. And that was something in sales that I didn't really believe my first 3 years. I hated when people told me that. But it is kind of true. And it took me a while of being in sales and seeing me doing good versus people who are just as talented as me not doing good. And I noticed the difference. And I will say too, it's easier to have that mindset when you've already made really good money. When you haven't ever made six figures in a year doing sales, it's hard to believe that. It really is. It's hard to like internalize that. It's hard to trick yourself into believing that. And I think because I did pretty well, like my second year in solar, I just had like really high confidence after making like 400K my second year. And I was just like, I don't know. I just was like, all right, I'm good at this. This is what I do. I'm good at sales. You know, I just kind of internalized that and really believed that. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, it is hard. Like if you haven't really had the results to back it up, it can be, you can feel lost. Like you're like, dude, does this shit work? Does it not? But you know, you can take like this success from a micro level and expand that, right? So it's like you have one, usually in this business, once people have like one really good breakout week, you'll see them like just continue killing it, right? Like you have that
Mm.
first 15K week, and then it's like, boom, now that person's usually pretty good from there on out. Like they don't need that much more help. They're a pretty good closer. They start working harder. They have more confidence. It's like, so you don't have to have like this amazing year to have that confidence. You just need to work on getting that first fucking week of or even it can be even one day. Sometimes you see people close, somebody close three or four to five in a day out of nowhere. Always been like three, four policies a week, and then they've closed three in a day, and then they're just like, boom, they're good after that. I've seen it happen to people on my team. So yeah, I would try to like find whatever level of success you can, and then just roll with that confidence, you know. And I know people like hate to hear that answer of like believe in yourself, be confident, but it is true. You just have to like expect to be, hey, I'm good, I'm lucky, I make money, like this is what I do. I'm good at what I do. And you know, it helps a lot. But I hated that answer the first like 4 years I was doing sales, and then eventually you're in the business long enough, you realize why all the experienced people say it is because it is kind of true.
Mm. Awesome, bro. I appreciate your time and congratulations once again.
Thank you, bro. I didn't do anything special, guys. I mean, I'm 95%. I read the exact same script you guys have. I sell veterans, final expense. You know, just work hard and believe in yourself. I mean, it's cliche as hell, but it is really true. Anybody else have any questions before we hop off?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joy. What are the biggest things that you instill as far as bringing new agents into business? And let's say maybe they don't believe in themselves as much or not as confident. Like, how would you instill that in them without like pushing them too hard?
Yeah. So King Mo put this to me at the convention. This is something, and again, man, like I'm still definitely trying to get better every single day. It's my biggest focus right now is getting better at developing salespeople in a virtual environment. So yeah, I'm still working on this myself. But one thing King Mo told me is y'all all probably know his story. Love that guy. Just an amazing person. But you know, whenever somebody gets licensed and those 2, 3 weeks they're applying for contracts, you want to get them as prepared as possible. And this is definitely something I haven't been strict enough about doing. I've like sent my guys all the trainings, all the resources, but I haven't been like honestly hard enough about new guys about it. Like, hey, these next 2 weeks while you're waiting for your contracts to be approved, you have to be on every single training, every single Monday training, every single Wednesday training, every single Friday training, the Monday night call. You have to listen to these 10 videos. Like you have to get them prepared for battle. The way Mo put it to me was like, you know, if you have an army and you put them into war with no training, they're going to get slaughtered. I was like, I thought that was hilarious, but it's true. So you need to make sure you get a good job of like preparing them for what's about to happen, you know? And I start in the very beginning though, like letting them know, like, hey man, this shit's really, really hard. Like before I even send somebody the onboarding, I'm like, dude, this shit is hard, especially if they haven't done sales before. Like you have to really prepare them and warn them because you don't want to be like the person who's like You don't want them thinking like, oh man, this guy didn't tell me any of this, you know? I tell them like, hey, you're gonna have to buy state licenses. Like it's gonna be a bitch. You're gonna have to invest money. Like the free leads, you're gonna have to make $600 every single day just to get 5 presentations. Like you're gonna have to work super, super hard. Like I'm really truthful about like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like obviously I want to recruit people, so I'm telling them about the opportunity as well. But I'm also telling them about all the bad stuff that a lot of people don't share. You know, like tell them like, hey, yeah, we sell every 50 states. You're gonna sell somebody in Texas, you're not gonna have that license. You're gonna make 70 to $120 less on your first policy in every state because you have to buy the license, call them back, write the application. Like, don't worry, I'll help you, but just let you know, like that's what this is. Um, so I'd say like doing a good job preparing them. Um, and then just, asking them to unmute, especially if they're not in person with you. Like when I was first starting, I just stayed unmuted. Like I literally didn't mute my phone. And shout out Shane, shout out Mahmood. Like definitely would not have done as good as I did last year. Like particularly those two guys the most, but also like I remember like everyone is helping me, and I would take advice from anybody. Like if you have more results than me in something else, I will take advice from you. I'm not going to take advice from somebody who's doing worse than I'm doing. But if you are better than me at anything, I will take advice from you. If you're richer than me, I'll take advice from you about business, money. If you're in better shape, I'll take advice about dieting and working out. If you sell more, I'll take advice from you about how to close people, like just anything in life, right? So yeah, I would say get them used to like being uncomfortable, unmuting on the phones. There's really no way to get better without that.
All right, man. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you for your time, man.
Of course, bro. Anybody
Let's
else?
go, Joey.
Yeah, yes, sir. I hear y'all downstairs and through the computer. All right, guys. I'll go ahead and end the